for a rich life and a life full of riches. Happy Diwali.
Happy Diwali.
Happy Diwali.
Happy Diwali. Happy Diwali.
Happy Diwali.
Very good evening. You're watching Primetime. I'm Tamanna Inamdar. Let's take a look at the headlines this evening. Axis Bank's bad loan situation takes a turn for the worse in the September quarter. Fresh slippages surged to over 8,900 crore rupees. Additional loans worth 6,000 crore rupees run the risk of turning into NPAs. Wipro clocks $2 billion in quarterly revenues from IT services. Profit growth and margins surpass analyst estimates. Record three-wheeler sales and festive demand helped BAJAJ Auto surpass estimates in the second quarter. Revenue rises 2%, driven by a pickup in volume. And no Dhanteras cheer on Dalal Street. Nifty ends flat at its all-time closing high. Bharti Airtel hits an 8-year high. The Environment Pollution Prevention and Control Agency bans the use of diesel generators in Delhi as air quality enters the red zone. Well, let's begin with the story about Axis Bank. Axis Bank's NPAs problem is taking a turn for the worse. Gross NPAs rose to over 27,000 crores and came in at 5.9% of the total book in the July to September quarter. The corresponding reading for the June quarter was 5.03%. Net NPA ratios spiked to 3.12% from 2.3%. Consequently, the net profit missed analyst estimates and came in at 432 crore rupees, while net interest income grew by 1%. The bank also reported a divergence of over 5,600 crore rupees between the internal assessment of bad loans and the judgment made by the RBI in the last fiscal year.
There are 9 accounts that were asked to be reclassified. As on 30th June 2017, these 9 accounts were broadly classified as standard assets across most other banks in the consortiums. Only an approximately 6% of the total outstanding of these 9 accounts is held as NPA by any of the banks in the entire industry. Of these 9 accounts, 8 accounts are consortium loans, and Axis is the lead banker in only one of them. On the 9th account, where Axis is the sole lender, we expect a very significant part of this account to get repaid very soon. For a full year basis, we expect the divergence related impact, all of which has been taken in Q2, to consume about 40 basis points of credit costs.
And Vishwanath Nair joins us for more on the numbers. Vishwanath, what are the top takeaways? What is the management saying to explain these numbers?
Well, largely the management says that the NPA concerns which have taken place over the second quarter have been because of an accelerated reclassification by the Reserve Bank of India. What the Reserve Bank of India did was they reviewed the books from the last financial year, FY17, and concluded that about 4,600 crore worth of loans should have been NPA, but the bank did not classify them as NPA. So the bank had to do all of those NPA reclassification during the second quarter itself, which sort of pushed the gross slippages number up, and therefore the gross NPA number also up. According to the bank, however, this is only a quarterly problem. It will take care of itself in the next quarter, and sort of things will start improving in the coming quarters. By the second half of the next financial year, things should be fine. We should be back to a sort of normalized rate of problem assets.
Well, let's see if analysts, agree with that optimism, saying that things are going to be better next quarter. Senior research analyst at Nirmal Bang Securities, Manish Oswal, joins us now on the phone line to talk more about Axis numbers. Manish, your first comment on the numbers. What do you make of the slippages?
So, the overall numbers of Axis Bank are far below than our expectations, both on the P&L core performance like net interest income, pre-provision profit and provisioning, and the profit number. As far as the asset quality is concerned, non-watchlist book and some divergent numbers, which is also a significant negative to us and surprise to us. And third, overall slippage number is also negative. So overall, poor set of numbers from Axis Bank. And the commentary at the beginning of the year, management guided for the credit cost for the full year is going to be shoot up at least 30 to 40 basis points from their guidance. So overall numbers are very weak. And the loan book side growth is very tepid. Retail book is growing below than the peer bank. So nothing exciting on the balance sheet number either.
Yeah, but Manish, as Vishwanath, my colleague, has reported, the management says that the situation will improve by next quarter. Do you see that happening? Do you see any such positive trends?
I mean, we have seen the couple of banks' numbers and even the good, reasonably stable balance sheet banks like DCB and IndusInd Bank. We have not seen material increase or improvement of their asset quality trend. So we don't believe the bank like Axis or ICICI Bank can reverse the trend in a coming quarter in a sharp way. So the asset quality concern will continue at least this financial year. Till that time, we see significant amount of improvement in the overall corporate earnings.
Right, Manish. We also wanted to know, you mentioned DCB and IndusInd, but their balance sheet is not similar to Axis. Something that is comparable is probably an ICICI Bank. So this review, asset quality review that the Axis Bank has pointed out during this quarter, is that something that we will see an impact in ICICI's numbers probably going ahead, or some of the other larger private sector banks?
As far as the private sector power sector exposure is concerned, I believe it will have a similar impact on the ICICI Bank asset quality also. Divergence in this particular bank is concerned, so we cannot, say the similar thing for ICICI Bank. But the asset quality overall trend for ICICI Bank will not be materially different from what Axis reported today.
Yes. Also, lastly, just to wrap this up, sort of, going ahead, what are going to be the triggers for turnaround as far as Axis Bank is concerned? Because they've said second half of FY19, but what exactly is going to happen in this period?
So one trigger which I see is some faster resolution of bigger, which is also a tepid process in the slow process. So any resolution was the provision for some asset quality concern abatement. But overall, it will be because we don't see major M&A in the state sectors also. So it will be gradual recovery, and the trigger will be one is the resolution, and secondly M&A in those particular sectors where the bigger top companies are acquiring the state assets and things are resolving. So those are the things we can see for the recovery side. As far as the SME side, the overall SME portfolio, agriculture portfolio, it is dependent on especially the trade, overall trade sentiment and the consumer sentiment, and which is, I think, on the looking the automobile numbers and other things, it seems to be on an improving side. So those buckets will improve faster than the overall corporate side, which is more infra loans and more, underutilized assets. And power sector exposure, again, it's because currently the tariff rate of solar is very, very low. So the power asset on the thermal side, especially private sector side, it is very, very challenging time, and I don't see immediate recovery, at least 6 to 12 month perspective.
Okay.
We can foresee.
Just last quick question, Manish. What is your outlook for the stock?
I have a negative rating on the stock. I have a sell rating with a target price of 480.
Okay, thanks so much for speaking with us.
Thanks.
And software services outsourcer Wipro delivered second quarter numbers that were largely in line with estimates. Net profit increased 5.3% sequentially to 2,192 crore rupees, while revenue missed the mark as it declined 1.5% to 13,423 crore rupees. However, revenue from IT services increased to 13,169 crore rupees. Revenues from IT services in dollar terms grew by 2.1% quarter on quarter quarter to $2,013 million in Q2. EBIT grew 3.9%, while EBIT margin expanded to 16.8%. The IT major, which surpassed the milestone of $2 billion in quarterly revenues from IT services, expects the division to deliver revenues of between $2.01 billion and $2.05 billion in Q3. And Agam Vakil summarizes Wipro's Q2 performance in this report.
Well, Wipro's IT services have grown over 2% sequentially at a little over 2,000 million. And if you consider the way it's panned out against its expectations, it is more or less in line with consensus. Moreover, when it comes to its margins, we have seen an expansion. Consequently, profits have also moved up sequentially. But to take us through this quarter, we have with us Jatin Dalal, the Chief Financial Officer of Wipro, to take us through these numbers as well as the outlook.
We came near midpoint in quarter two against our guidance of -0.5 to 1.5. We have grown well on reported terms at 2.1%. For quarter three, our guidance, I would say, is a healthy guidance. We remain quite confident of our journey on revenue growth trajectory.
And Bajaj Auto posted a decline in profits for the second straight quarter. The stock, however, saw a jump because the numbers were ahead of street estimates. Consolidated net profit fell 0.6% year-on-year to 1,193 crore rupees, while rise in volume pushed revenue up by 2%. EBITDA rose 0.3% to 1,383 crore rupees, while margins contract by roughly 2%. Yatin Mota sums up the key takeaways from Bajaj Auto's Q2 performance.
Well, it was a good second quarter performance by Bajaj Auto versus the street expectations. In fact, the operating performance surprised on the positive side. Now, if you look at the four key takeaways from the earnings, we had a good 8% revenue growth coming in for Bajaj Auto on the back of 4% volume growth and 4% improvement in realization. Of course, if you look at the second key takeaway, margins were above the street expectations on better cost controls and improvement in the realizations. Of course, the improvement in realizations came in from two factors. Which was primarily due to the growth in the export markets. Now the export markets have been lagging for Bajaj Auto for quite some time, and finally we saw some recovery in business there, and that is the reason why we saw some good margins coming in. And finally we have the three-wheeler business of the company. Because of better product mix and higher contribution from the three-wheeler space, we saw some overall operating performance which got lifted higher. Of course, we had the management of Bajaj Auto joining us early in the day, which is quite confident on a better second half of this financial year on the back of good demand in the domestic market and recovery in the export markets. Let's listen out Kevin Disa.
We also reported the highest EBITDA in the history of the company. PAT is about 1,112 crores, second highest, and most importantly, EBITDA margins have gone back to 20.8%. What I really see happening in Q3 and Q4 is the treasury income will go up, because substantial money of the company, almost about 1,500 crores, is blocked because of GST, is blocked because of VAT. Now, I believe that some part of this money will be released in quarter 3 and quarter 4, which will help boost my treasury income in these 2 quarters.
Now, staying with earnings, it's a solid show from cement maker ACC in quarter ending September. Net profit almost doubled and came in at 178 crore rupees, while revenue increased to nearly 26% on a year-on-year basis, surpassing street estimates. EBITDA jumped almost 50%, while margins expanded to 13.3%. Shares of the cement maker rose over 1% as a consequence of strong earnings show. ACC management in a press release expressed confidence about the structural robustness of the industry and said that they continue to maintain a positive outlook. And a quick reminder, any detail on all of those earnings, a lot more numbers which have come out today, all you have to do is go to bloombergquint.com. And Indian markets ended almost unchanged in today's trade, with Nifty closing at an all-time closing high. Broader markets outperformed the benchmark indices, with both mid-caps and small-caps clocking gains around 0.5% among individual sectors. Telecom clocked strong gains, while the bank index ended with losses. Among individual stocks, Cipla, Bharat Petroleum, Bharti Airtel eked out significant gains. Bharti Airtel in particular ended the day's trade at an 8-year high, while Zee Entertainment, Axis Bank and Tata Motors incurred losses. And it's Dhanteras today, traditionally considered to be an auspicious day to buy gold in India. But with gold prices falling over the last 1 year, does it still make sense to buy the precious metal? Pradeep Pandya tells us more.
Well, Indians normally buy gold around Dhanteras and Diwali, and we tried to figure out whether this is really a good investment to make. If you look at the data, had you invested in gold 5 years back, that is in 2012, on Diwali day, the gold then and today has in fact fallen, which means you have got a negative return over last 5 years. Had you put money into a bank deposit, it would have appreciated by 50%. Had you put money into a good equity fund, maybe your money would have doubled in last 5 years period. So gold has actually disappointed in terms of the returns that it generated. Interestingly, if you look at it, how gold performs over a 5-year period, between 1997 and 2002 also it didn't perform much, but there were some positive returns. But between 2002 and 2007, and then from 2007 and 2012, in 2012 actually gold hit an all-time high in international markets. This was a period when gold was able to generate up to 25 to 30% of annualized return. But well, are those days going to come back, and should we really expect 20 to 30% return in gold if you hold on for next 5 years or even 10 years? Well, data suggests that over last 20 years, and that could be a reasonable long-term investment return to expect in India, is around 10% plus. Whereas in international market, in dollar terms, gold yields around 7% annualized return CAGR over a long-term time frame. Going ahead for next few years, experts believe that in international market, gold may not actually appreciate, because most of the global central bankers are planning to tighten, especially the US Fed is likely to unwind the balance sheet and raise the interest rates. So that won't really augur well for gold, because when dollar appreciates, gold tends to depreciate. However, in Indian markets, experts believe that rupee will continue to depreciate at the rate of 3 to 4%, at least in the medium to long term. And therefore, in India, if you are investing in gold, if you are investing in rupee terms, actually, your return may still be more or less on par with FD or a tad better.
And a quick programming reminder, coming up on Primetime Debate, we're going to talk a little more about Dhanteras. Is a gold boom back this festive season, especially after rules were relaxed for declaring your PAN card for purchases above 50,000 rupees? Has that added enough cheer? We're talking about all that and more on Primetime Debate, so don't forget to tune in. And the NPA pain continues for Axis Bank, Wipro's cautious stance, and those are the other big stories that we're looking at. But meanwhile, moving to a story about diesel generators that have been banned in Delhi as air quality entered the red zone in the national capital. Measures under the very poor and severe categories of the plan came into force today, under which the Badarpur thermal power plant has also been closed. That's not all. Parking fees for vehicles may also be hiked by 4 times in the next few days to counter air pollution. Environment Pollution Control Authority Chairman Bhure Lal and member Sunita Narayan said that cars will have to go off the roads in case the air quality deteriorates. And Debi Goenka, Executive Trustee of the Conservation Action Trust, is now joining us on the phone line to talk more about this story. Mr. Goenka, I'm just wondering what those people who were really so upset about the firecracker ban have to say now.
Well, I think the point was always made that the air quality in Delhi is very poor. There are a number of factors that contribute to the poor air quality. And the perception was that the firecrackers were the easiest ones to target because they were a sort of temporary thing. And also because of the nature of the pollution they emit, heavy metals being emitted into the atmosphere. A lot of them are toxic and some of them are carcinogenic. And it was felt that it was something that could easily be dispensed with if the health of the citizens of Delhi was a greater priority. Now, because Delhi has this graded plan in force, and because the air quality has gone down even further, EPCA has taken a decision that diesel generators, which are also quite highly polluting, and there are actually very poor or non-existent emission standards, those have to be shut down. And of course, the coal-fired Badarpur thermal power plant, which is also an old plant and quite inefficient, has also been shut down. And of course, the next target is going to be motor vehicles. So I guess it's not a very happy situation for the people in Delhi to be in. But I think the measures that are being taken are required to keep the air at least at some breathable level.
Sure. But Mr. Goenka, we've been seeing this over the last few years around this season, and it usually, I hope it doesn't this year, but it usually gets worse as winter progresses. There are these measures with the city has tried odd, even, etc. And then it's back to normal. Now, some of these measures, you're talking about parking going up 4 times, getting cars off the road. These are not sustainable and feasible for everyday lives.
Tamanna, at the end of the day, society as a whole will have to decide what is more important. Is our life, is the health of our children and our grandparents more important? Or do we need to actually get into this kind of lifestyle, which is actually more unsustainable than we can imagine? We are actually poisoning ourselves, and because it's a slow poison, and because, the cost that we pay for poor health, the medicines, the sick leave, the doctors, the hospitals, is borne by us, not by society or by government. So nobody really cares. But I think at the end of the day, if you measure the health costs, if you evaluate the premature deaths, if you look at the suffering that people go through every year, I think at the end of the day, it's high time that government realize that we need to actually change the way we do things. And really the emphasis has to be on cleaner power, on public transportation. And we need to eliminate all those activities that add to the pollution load of Delhi and other parts of the country. And at the end of the day, if crop burning is a problem, I think it's high time government worked out a mechanism where you can compensate the farmers not to burn their crops, I think those are the kinds of things that actually need to be done and had to be done very, very quickly.
Sure, they need to be done long term, and I think it's just silly to bring controversy into pollution control measures. But just, for our understanding, when you say that the air quality has entered the red zone and is in the severe and very poor category, what does it really mean? If you can explain to our viewers, what does that mean in terms of what people are experiencing in Delhi right now?
So what is happening is there is system in place, which is not just in Delhi but nationwide, is called SAFAR, and they are measuring particulate matter in the atmosphere on a real-time basis. And when it crosses certain levels, they rate it as good, fair, poor, bad, and dangerous kind of thing. So when you're talking about the red category, it means that we are entering a danger zone. It's above permissible standards for air quality. And that's when these measures to reduce pollution in the atmosphere kicks in, and efforts are being made to make sure that lesser SPM is emitted into the atmosphere. So I think anything, the moment you're talking about air quality that is poor, you need to really watch out. And unfortunately, Delhi seems to be in a situation where the air quality is poor for most of the year, and above the red category in very dangerous categories during the winter months.
All right. Thank you so much, Devi Goenka, for explaining that to us. So, no diesel generators in Delhi. Of course, there is a ban on selling of firecrackers, and hopefully it will be a cleaner and greener Diwali in the capital. Now, a day after BJP MLA Sangeet Som said that the Taj was built by traitors, Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Adityanath spoke up on the controversy. He pointed out that regardless of who built the Taj, it is a historical monument built with the sweat and blood of Indian laborers.
हमें इसकी तह में जाने की आवश्यकता नहीं कि ताजमहल क्यों बना, क्या किसने बनाया, किस उद्देश्य के लिए बनाया। महत्वपूर्ण ये कि ताजमहल भारत के मजदूरों की, भारत माता के सपूतों की खून पसीने की कमाई से बना हुआ है।
Now, a report from the Association for Democratic Reform has shown that the declared assets of the Bharatiya Janata Party jumped by 627% between 2004-05 and 2015-16. The total assets of BJP jumped from 122 crores over 893 crores in 11 years. The report, titled Analysis of Assets and Liabilities of National Party, analyzes data from the audited accounts submitted by 7 political parties to the Income Tax Department and the Election Commission of India. In the same period, the total assets of the Congress party increased from 167 crores to 758 crores, an increase of 353%. In the 11-year period for which the parties were assessed, the Congress had more assets than the BJP till the 2014-15 financial year, which was when the BJP-led government came to power. The total assets of the Communist Party of India, Marxist, and the All India Trinamool Congress increased by 383% and 176% respectively. The report said that the CPIM and AITC are the only 2 national parties to show a steady increase in their annual declared assets. And crude prices crept higher and have held on to gains even as the conflict between Iraq and Kurdish forces threatened supplies. Increase in demand also propped up crude prices. The Brent is hovering over $58 a barrel, while NYMEX is trading over $52 a barrel. And U.S. markets are trading with marginal gains today on the back of strong quarterly earnings. Renewed hopes of U.S. tax reforms have offset geopolitical fears coming from the Korean Peninsula. Quick check, Dow Jones in the green but flat, the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq Composite also slightly, ever so slightly in the red. And the warning of a nuclear war is upon us. Once again, North Korea's Deputy Ambassador to the United Nations, Kim In-ryong, has warned that a nuclear war may break out any moment. This declaration came as the US and South Korea began one of their largest joint naval drills off both the east and west coast of the Korean Peninsula. He also threatened that the entire US mainland is within North Korea's firing range. And China's Communist Party is about to assemble for its first National Congress in 5 years. The almost week-long event brings together members from China's ruling elite to set future priorities and, most importantly, replace top party leaders. Bloomberg TV's Tom McKenzie explains the path to power in China.
There are 4 steps to China's leadership pyramid. First, you have the Party Congress, made up of about 2,270 delegates. These are state leaders, military generals, and top executives. From there, the leadership pool is surprisingly small for a country representing almost 1/5 of the global population. The Central Committee has roughly 200 members. Only 5% are women. The Central Committee officially has the power to elect the General Secretary and members of other top committees. To advance beyond the Central Committee, you must meet certain criteria. Age is a factor. A precedent was set in 2002 requiring standing committee members 68 or older to retire. So, aspiring state leaders need to reach each level at a young enough age to ensure their climb to the top. President Xi joined the Central Committee before his 45th birthday and, under current norms, can stay on until 2022. Beyond age, leaders hoping to advance beyond the Central Committee must have experience at high-profile ministries, military units, cities or provinces. An appointment to a top post in Shanghai, hometown of former President Jiang Zemin, has been the most reliable springboard to state power over the past century. After the Central Committee, the next level is the Politburo. This 25-member committee is generally comprised of party chiefs of top regions and the top 2 military officers on the Central Military Commission. This committee is the decision-making body. They ensure the execution of party policies. At the very top of this power pyramid is the Standing Committee. This elite body is always comprised of members from top state posts, President, Premier, and Chairman of the Standing Committee. The remaining seats are occupied by leaders of central party agencies and commissions. And that is China's narrow path to political power.
And in some other news, it's a huge setback for the former Indian fast bowler Sreesanth. The Kerala High Court today upheld the appeal made by the BCCI against an earlier verdict that lifted the life ban imposed on the bowler. All the 36 accused, including Sreesanth, Ankit Chavan and Ajit Chandala, were discharged in the IPL 6 spot fixing case by Patiala House Court in July 2015. The BCCI, however, had refused to alter its disciplinary decision. We're taking a very short break, but don't go anywhere, because up next we're first talking about gold. It's all that glitters, it's Dhanteras. Did you make your purchases? Was it a good idea? And is the gold boom back? That's the first debate on Prime Time coming up next. Don't go anywhere.